Now we're going to take a look at the trends, and we kick off with trends in relation to finding opportunity in new work. So number one, asking questions of organisations, understanding the purpose of their PMO and what the organisation wants to achieve with it. So this links directly to the challenge. So people are already starting to think about how can I get better about the choices I'm making in my career to make sure that the organisations that I work with in the future are their PMOs are at the right level and are moving forward in the right direction, and are going to give me the kind of challenge and opportunity it is that I want. So a lot of frustrations in a PMO and the career stem from not knowing about these or not agreeing with them. So an organisation can, knock the head in the right direction, and that can have a detrimental effect obviously on your career. We hear so many people that work within a PMO where one minute their PMO is fine and they get a new direction from senior management, and the PMO can be drastically reduced in terms of its services that it offers, or even disbanded altogether. So again, there's a lot of things that go on from an organisation's point of view that can have a really big impact on your career, but there are a lot of organisations out there that are getting better at it, and they do want good people. As we know, they say they struggle to find good people. So there is an opportunity there. So it's about finding the right kind of opportunity for where you are now, but also how is it going to help you in terms of your career moving forward. Trend 2 is about not relying on your own organisation to help you develop and advance in the PMO field. What's always been really interesting to me is that you find many people that work within a PMO can only be maybe one or two people that are actually in an organisation within that PMO. The problem is with that is that most of your experiences are kind of stuck within the PMO that you're working within. So you may think that your PMO is quite advanced, but when you come along to something like PMO Flashmob and talk to other people and their PMOs, you find that actually some of your development can be lacking, quite big skills gaps, because your PMO where you are working today doesn't want those functions and services. So from your career point of view, you can be held back and stunted because your particular PMO that you're in doesn't do those kind of functions and services. Now you might be happy with that, but the problem is that there might become a time when you may have to look for other work and different opportunities and different organisations. So you kind of owe it to yourself to make sure that you are developing a rounded PMO career. One of the things here that you can see on the screen is something that we put together to take the functions and services just that a little bit further, to show you what we mean by having quite a big, breadth of PMO experience. And if nothing else, this document will show you, this is what I've already got, and actually look at all the things that I don't have. Now, you may choose to ignore that at this stage in your career, but it's definitely something, a document that you will keep throughout your career and come back and keep looking at. Where are my gaps? Where do I maybe want to think about in terms of my training and development moving forward? Doing that based on actual known gaps through a comparison to PMO types of opportunities that are out there in the marketplace. And that documentation you can actually get by completing a short survey, and you will get access to that Excel spreadsheet that you can then keep and use throughout your career moving forward. Final trend in terms of finding your own opportunity around PMO careers is the finding, developing and utilising a PMO network. Of course we're going to include this as a trend because that's what we're seeing with PMO Flashmob. We're seeing a lot more people that actually care about their PMO career, and they do want to move on, and they do want to move upwards, and they do want to get better about what they're doing. But one of the things that we've found over the last couple of years is that people need help with that. They need help with finding a network. Well, you've found one. Here is PMO Flashmob, and why not come along to one? But there's also other things that you can be doing in terms of developing that network and actually utilising it to find opportunity. What we've found is that people need help with this, and it's almost like it's a career skill, a skill in its own right. How can you develop a network that works for you, but also works with the people that you're networking with, because it's very much a reciprocal thing. So the trend is that people are doing this, and good PMO support people, the good people that these organisations want, do this and do it really well. So it's definitely one of the top trends for me that I'm seeing in terms of PMO practitioners today.
So, looking at trends that we're starting to see in PMOs around the industry at the moment. So the first one is looking at benefits. So benefits management has been on the too hard pile for a long, long time. And it gradually over the last 3 years, 3 to 5 years really, organisations have recognised as they're starting to understand projects. We're not there to produce the deliverables, but actually what we want to do is really get the benefits from those deliverables by embedding it in the organisation. So identifying benefits and having a much more cohesive and rounded business case with that information in it, and actually then looking at how those benefits are going to be delivered, is it much more in the thinking of organisations and therefore PMOs. One of the interesting bits though is they haven't actually cottoned on about how much we need to develop the sponsor community in order to be held accountable for delivering those benefits. So one of the things that we're seeing is the PMO, as the project manager does the project close down, is the PMO picking up the role of measuring those benefits going forward. So that's certainly something we need to think about in terms of how we support businesses, right from the business case right through to benefits realisation, and what accountability and what can we do from a measuring perspective, and start thinking about how we can start developing that sponsor community. Very often when we start thinking about processes and systems and even training and development, we very much focus on the project management community, and we really need to be broadening our net to start encompassing the project sponsor community as well. So that's definitely something that's certainly more in the eyes of PMOs. So the second trend that we're starting to see in PMOs is a real development of relationships with the C-suite. Management of portfolios has been out for a number of years, and a number of organisations, and with support from their PMOs, really have a desire to start doing some portfolio management. Now, unfortunately, what a lot of people think is that actually portfolio reporting is portfolio management, and that's not the case. Just because we produce a list of all of the projects that we're undertaking, we give an update on their status on a regular basis, is not portfolio management. And we may aspire to that, but we need to start thinking about what are the additional services that we need to do in order to support the C-suite. And certainly one of the first steps in that is starting to think about what projects we do and why. So really start thinking about how do they contribute to the overall strategy, and starting to think about what benefits they're going to contribute, start thinking about the capacity and capability in the organisation to deliver, and very often working up together a project selection criteria matrix is where that first starts, and that will obviously develop over time, but that starts to engage the C-suite in getting them to understand and obviously reflecting back on why we've chosen one particular project than the other. And going back to what we talked about in the challenges, it's not about making the decisions, it's actually holding up a mirror and saying, are you conscious that we're delivering this project which actually doesn't appear to have any alignment with strategy, or this particular project actually we're struggling to have capacity for in this particular area, or the level of change within this part of the business is already starting to make that part of the business struggle. So that's a very obvious place where things are starting to happen at a C-suite level. And I think the other thing which has to be a good thing from the PMOs is we're starting to get away from just policing the process. So instead of reporting on projects who sent their project reports in Comic Sans rather than Courier, we actually start looking behind that and starting to do some qualitative analysis and assurance of the quality of the products and deliverables that are coming out from that process. And we're also starting to look at the doability of some of the projects, rather than just have we got a paid and have we got a schedule. So definitely moving ahead in terms of the relationship with the C-suite. So the final trend around PMO relates back to some of the things that Lindsay mentioned in terms of career pathing within PMOs, is that PMO is actually starting to be recognised as a part of the whole project, professional roles and responsibilities, and real jobs, rather than just something that project managers do for a while, or something that kind of we do and when we grow up we'll become a project manager. So we're starting to see recognition that having a spell in a professional career in the PMO and picking up an understanding of the methods and the tools, understand some of the challenges that brings, but also getting a picture of actually it's not just delivering one project for the organisation, it's for delivering multiple projects for the organisation, and also getting a view of the impact that has on the various parts of the business is a really good insight into the kind of the workings of the organisation. Looking kind of outside of our organisations, what we're actually starting to see is that some of the professional bodies are really starting to recognise PMO and PMO roles. So you may be aware that kind of earlier this year the APM released the second version of their competence framework. And for the first time what they've also included in that are 4 role profiles for PMO resources. So we've got PMO analyst and also kind of things like PMO manager and PMO coordinator and PMO director. So those 4 competence profiles sit there, which allows us to start thinking about kind of what are the skills and capabilities we might need, and start really kind of driving development to achieve what hopefully will become kind of some standard profiles for those particular roles. And I think the other thing, and part of what kind of PMO Flashmob and the PMO conference is really kind of trying to support, is the recognition that PMOs in different organisations, even though we may be kind of slightly different and deliver different services, there is an awful lot of commonality, and we can actually start driving forward best practice in PMOs. And across industries and across both the public and the private sector. So what we're trying to do is try and increase the kind of the understanding of what that best practice might be, develop some training around it, and certainly I would encourage you to start kind of not just being the recipient of that best practice, but also kind of trying to contribute to that. And certainly coming to the flash mob and the conference will certainly help you do that.
So there's our 6 trends: asking questions, not relying on your organisation for development, the PMO network, measuring benefits, developing relationships with the C-suite, and becoming professional. So this is the presentation that we did at Project Challenge in October 2015. Well attended, over 100 people listened to us, great feedback from people. Thought it was spot on in terms of the directed at PMO people today, touching on challenges that they're facing, looking at some of the trends moving forward. So hopefully you've enjoyed it, and if you want to know more about PMO Flashmob, it's at pmoflashmob.org. Thank you.